You're listening to Switched On Australia, the podcast that tracks the opportunities and challenges of electrifying everything, everywhere. Switched On is brought to you by the publishers of Renew Economy, Australia's best informed, most read website focusing on the green energy transition, and is supported by Boundless Earth. Boundless Earth uses philanthropy, investment and direct advocacy to help Australia become a global force in a decarbonised world. Hello and welcome to Switched On Australia. I'm Anne Delaney. Great to have you with us today. Imagine being able to buy solar energy directly from your neighbour or sell your own excess rooftop solar to someone across town or even interstate, all through a simple online platform. That's the promise of virtual energy networks, a way of trading energy that puts more control in the hands of everyday consumers. These networks are still emerging in Australia, but interest is growing. VENs have already been used by councils, schools and businesses with multiple sites, like local governments, for instance, that share solar from a community centre with their offices or their depots, for instance. But most energy retailers haven't extended this to households, possibly because it disrupts their traditional business models and cuts into their profit margins. Now a new research project is putting virtual energy networks to the test, this time with households and small businesses. Led by Deakin University and funded by Energy Consumers Australia, the study is recruiting up to 400 participants across the national electricity market. Dr. Andrea La Nauze is an Associate Professor of Economics at Deakin University and the project's lead researcher. And I began our conversation by asking Andrea to explain in more detail what a virtual energy network is and how it works.
So a virtual energy network is an online platform. It's an online platform where everyday consumers, so households and small businesses and even to some extent large businesses, can buy and sell energy between each other. So these are all customers of the same retailer and they agree on a price and they trade excess solar energy between themselves.
So we'll go into the details a little bit more, but you're currently looking for some 400 households and businesses to participate in a trial of a virtual energy network. Tell me what the aim is of your study.
So we have a few aims. Predominantly, we're trying to understand the benefits of this kind of system that enables this trade or sharing of excess rooftop solar output. And when I say benefits, we mean benefits to the owners of rooftop solar who will be selling power in the system, to participants who don't have rooftop solar currently, so the buyers, people who want to buy rooftop solar output from their community. But also we want to think about what are the potential benefits to the network. And if there are these potential benefits, that's important for all consumers because those benefits eventually, flow through to all of us in terms of cheaper network prices.
So tell me, how does it work?
Well, from a user perspective, it's very simple. You go into a web portal, a pretty straightforward software system, and you can make offers to buy or sell. You can accept or reject other people's offers to buy or sell. And then you can you leave the system, you go away and live your normal life. And depending on what offers you have set up, what trades you've set up, you could be buying solar output during the day when you're consuming energy at home. So that's obviously if you're a buyer. And if you're a seller, you'll be selling to your community members based on whatever trades you've set up. So it's a simple system in that you go online, you set it up, and then you walk away. We are hoping that, for example, the buyers of rooftop solar will not just do that they'll set it up, but then they'll actually respond by using more of their electricity during the middle of the day.
So for the sellers, you, as you say, you set it up, so you don't have to be glued to an app or technology.
No, absolutely
at
not.
all times of the day, waiting for the good time to sell it.
No, absolutely not. So you can, it will work very well as a set and forget option. So
Hmm.
you set up what I actually probably better described as a trade rule. So I agree that if I have excess solar output, I will sell it to my neighbor at, let's say 8 cents or 5 cents, whatever we agree on. And you agree that if you're using power at that time, you will pay me that 8 cents. So you can set up that agreement, and then you walk away, and you live your life.
Right. For the people with solar and probably with batteries as well, they're obviously going to be selling their power for more than what the retailer is prepared to give them, the feed-in tariff, and the buyer is obviously, I presume, going to be buying it at a cheaper rate than what they do from their retailer.
Well, that's absolutely what we expect. But in fact, the participants choose the prices. So they could choose whatever prices they like as long as they have a trading partner at that price. So, obviously it makes sense that if you have rooftop solar, you're looking to sell it for more than what you get when you sell it to your retailer. And vice versa, when you're a buyer, obviously it makes sense that you're looking to get a better deal than what you would be buying under your usual contract. So I should say that this is all within an existing retailer. So
Mhm.
participants in a virtual energy network have a standard relationship with their retailer. That retailer provides them with, a set of prices and tariffs. So, for all intensive purposes, that's just a usual contract. Then there's just this add-on facility that enables you to access this software and trade in your community.
So are there particular retailers that, people will have to go through or any of them will participate?
Well, in theory, any of them could set up this service. For the study, the participants will be customers of Energy Locals. So,
Mhm.
Energy Locals have enabled this capability for small customers. So, that means small businesses and households. And so, to participate in the study, they will need to be an Energy Locals customer, but there's nothing to suggest that that has to be only a service that's offered by Energy Locals. Other retailers could pick it up if they see value in it.
What's in it for energy locals? Because I would say that they're probably a little bit more, I don't know, community socially oriented than some of the other retailers that we have in the energy market.
Yeah, so obviously I'm not a representative for Energy Locals, so that would be a great question to ask them. I think, as you say, they are a little bit of a different retailer. They have a slightly different business model where you pay a subscription fee and that covers sort of their administrative costs, and then they pass through to you just the raw rates for your energy. Um, Not in terms of a real-time price, but as in they don't add an additional margin to what they charge you for the power that you use. So that's a bit of a different business model to a lot of other retailers out there. Um, and in terms of why would Energy Locals or any retailer offer this solution to their customers? Well, if it's a solution that's valued by customers and if customers are more attracted to that retailer and if they're more likely to stay around, so they're more of a loyal customer, then there's a lot of value in that also.
I would guess, though, for a lot of our retailers, they wouldn't necessarily be interested in something like this. Is that the right assumption? They want to sell power to us at the highest price that they can get.
Well, I guess, I'm an economist, and at least the theory would suggest that they can only do that subject to remaining competitive. So if they're losing all their customers to Energy Locals because Energy Locals are offering this facility, then maybe that will change their mind.
Mm. Just clarify, Energy Locals I know is available in Victoria. Which other states is it available?
So our study is available to customers, small customers, so households and small businesses who have a smart meter in any of the national electricity markets. So Queensland, New South Wales, ACT, Victoria, Tasmania, and South Australia.
Okay. So just clarify, what technology do people need to have to be able to participate?
Yeah, I think that's one of the real advantages of this solution is that it's actually not very tech heavy. So, as I said, you need to have a smart meter. I mean, you need to be able to log on to the internet to log into the portal, but that's about it. You need a web browser and you need a smart meter, and you can join the study in those states.
Hmm. So the energy sharing is obviously happening live, isn't it?
Well, so the actual matching of the trades is happening sort of ex post.
Okay.
So it's not a real time trading platform, you're not going to log on and look at what's happening in real time. You will log on, and within 24 hours you'll be able to see the trades that you were a party to. But as I say, you set the trade rules in advance.
And can you choose who to share it with if you want to, say, share with families and friends?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a few different types of trades. One of them is called a peer-to-peer trade, and that's where you're trading with someone that you know. So it could be your neighbor, yeah, your grandchildren, your it could be yourself if you have multiple sites. So I know that there's a number of people who make the most of the system by selling themselves energy from one site where they have rooftop solar to another site where they don't.
Hmm.
Um, so that's a peer-to-peer trade where you know the identity, you know the contact details of the person that you're trading with. The other type of trade is an anonymous trade, and that's called a community trade. And that's a state-based pool where the way it works for a buyer is I just say to the system, I will buy anything below this particular price. And that, for example, that could be the retail tariff that you would otherwise pay if you just bought from the retailer. And similarly for the sellers, they can set the same option. I will sell for anything that's above this particular price. And of course, it makes sense if that's the feed-in tariff. And then the software goes through a matching process and then, clears that market, if you like. And that's all done anonymously at the state level. So each state has its own pool.
What sort of hurdles did you have to go through to actually even get this study up and running?
Well, I should say I am a researcher and I study behavior. So I'm not a software developer. I'm not an engineer. I'm certainly not a retailer. So this study is very much reliant on the very important work of others. So it's a partnership with community organisations. It's funded by Energy Consumers Australia, and it's utilising an existing software platform called Power Tracer that was developed by a company called Enosi. So I have no claim whatsoever to developing the software. I'm just interested in studying what impacts it has.
Just going back to the role of retailers, if a retailer did actually offer a virtual energy network, what would the business model likely be? How would they run it, and how do you think that they would charge for the service? Because they're definitely going to charge for it.
Well, I mean, it is running. It does exist. It's not just a pilot. It's actually a product that Energy Locals offers to outside of the study. So you could join up to the plan and not be a part of our study. So it is existing in the market, and I understand that in the commercial or large user space, there are actually a number of retailers who offer this facility to large users. And you can see that for large users who might have multiple sites again. So I think one of the classic use cases is councils. So local councils might have,
Mm.
solar on a clubhouse at a football field, and then offices down the road, and they want to be able to share the energy that's generated from that football field to their local council offices. So that's an existing product that's also offered in the commercial marketplace. It's that it's probably taken a little. I don't know if it's taken a little longer or if it's just had a slightly different pathway to market in the mass market, in the small consumer market.
Now, your study has been influenced by a community-led energy project in Wingecarribee in the Southern Highlands of New South Wales. which involved community energy trading. What did you learn from what they did, and how did it influence what you're trying to achieve now?
Yeah, so as I said, the study exists on the back of software that some clever people have developed, but it wouldn't have existed without this pilot program in the Wingecarribee area that's been undertaken by an organisation called Win Zero. So they're a community organisation that are committed to taking their community to net zero as fast as possible. And they had a pilot of the virtual energy network, or they still have a pilot in the Wingecarribee area. It has about 40 participants in it at the moment. And actually, the genesis of the study was that I was delivering a webinar for a previous project, which was all about electric vehicle charging. And one of the participants in that project and a member of the Win Zero community group got in touch with me to tell me about their trial. And I got so excited about it that we put in a proposal to scale it up and embed a study in it. So that trial, as I said, it's about 40 people, 40 sites in New South Wales and also a few sites in South Australia. They've been trading, I think, for almost a year at this point. They have a lot of local generation. They have off-takers who are residences. For example, they've got a few people who were really keen to get rooftop solar but were unable to because their properties have heritage listing and it was extremely difficult for them to install solar. They have small businesses. So, some of the members of the Win Zero community are powering their local cafe through the virtual energy network.
Mm.
That's been a fantastic trial to demonstrate that the technology is usable and accessible and successful for a community.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the study's perspective, I guess we're trying to understand, we're trying to embed an evaluation into a pilot rather than just sort of assess feasibility for a community.
Yeah. And do we have much feedback from the participants of the Wingecarribee pilot?
Yeah, so I think we know that there are a lot of generators in the Wingecarribee area, and one of the findings or one of the outcomes of their trial has been that it's important to get a balance. So, of course, people with rooftop solar tend to be pretty switched on, pretty savvy when it comes to energy, and they were very quick to adopt and join the virtual energy network. But for it to be a success, we also need participants who don't have rooftop solar to join in as the buyers, the people who can access this cheap, clean energy in the middle of the day. So that was one of the important findings that's really had a big impact on the study, is we're really focused on recruiting those, they're called off-takers. So for a bit of jargon, but that just means participant who doesn't have rooftop solar. We're really focused on trying to get as many of those into the trial as possible to ensure that we have a robust marketplace.
What role do you think virtual energy trading will have in the future? Do you think it will become a common way of buying and selling electricity in the next few years?
Well, yeah, I'm not much of a forecaster. I think we will certainly see the technology evolve. For example, the federal government's battery subsidies and the smarts that are coming into the system in terms of electric vehicle charging, etc. So I think we will see the system evolve. It is quite a different solution to something like virtual power plants, and it can certainly interact with those, but it is a much more autonomous solution. So a lot of the other solutions that we hear about are a lot more centralized or coordinated, and that certainly has value, but it's not for everyone. And I think this type of system, it has the potential to solve a lot of as I say, potential. We want to find out and understand, but it has potential to help solve a lot of the problems that we want to solve in order to keep increasing the amount of rooftop solar in our grid without necessarily having to give up autonomy from the individuals who own these assets.
Is there anything that needs to change in terms of laws or regulations to allow more communities and consumers to take up this kind of energy sharing?
Well, it's as I say, it's live now, and it's operating within the existing rules. That's not to s that's not to say that it's not unconstrained by the existing rules. So, in particular, network tariffs are one thing that could really boost the benefits of this kind of localized trade in energy. For example, if I'm trading with my neighbor, I'm still paying the same network tariffs as if I was
Mm,
trading with someone interstate.
mm.
But whether that is the optimal design of those network tariffs, I guess, is the big question. So if I am rewarded for consuming locally, I might be much more likely to consume based on local resource availability, and that has benefits to the system. So I think that's a big question. I think that's the thing that could revolutionize this type of solution. Yeah, it really would make trading locally much more beneficial. And if it's much more beneficial, then, it's good for both sides of the market.
I mean, the whole issue of tariffs, as we move forward with some of these alternative power generating and power sharing methods and systems, is that we have to reward the people who actually have invested in some of these resources. Surely.
Yes, but at the same time, we need to be cognizant of who is paying those rewards. And, I think part of what's happened is that particular people in society have been able to access the cheap, clean power from rooftop solar, and others have not been able to benefit as directly.
Mm.
So that's another reason why you might like this kind of solution, because it does provide more direct access to that cheap local power to people who otherwise can't get it.
Yes, and obviously, one of the major issues that we've got is ensuring that we all move forward together.
Yes, entirely. And look, I think, as I said, it's going to be really interesting to see how the virtual energy network evolves once we have, a lot more automation, a lot more storage behind the meter, even behind the transformer, but within the distribution network. I think it has really strong potential to solve a lot of those problems.
I could see that we could just do away with these electricity retailers if we belong to a virtual energy network. We obviously still have to access the grid and will be charged a network fee, but it's not as if the retailers are adding value to a system like this, are they?
Well, I think retailers provide a number of functions. So, obviously, they actually facilitate the billing process, and retailers are required, even with a virtual energy network, to do that, right? Somebody has to make sure that the bills are being paid, that the energy is being matched and settled. They also do help manage risk. So, the virtual energy network at the moment is powered by rooftop solar, and there are days and times when that will not meet the needs of the consumers on that network, and they will be buying power from the wholesale market. And retailers perform a function of reducing the risk of being exposed to extremely high wholesale prices. So there are a number of other functions that retailers undertake, but I think, as we're seeing in the retail market, what it means to be a retailer and the different types of services that retailers are offering will evolve over time.
Just a final question, Andrea. What are you most hoping will come out of this trial? What will success look like?
Great question. So it will look like a robust sample size. So we obviously need a lot of people to sign up to the study. So that is first and foremost what that's going to be critical. In terms of what the outcomes that would be the most exciting, it'd be really interesting if we're able to demonstrate that having access to this type of trading platform increases the consumption of people buying energy in the middle of the day. So they're boosting their consumption of electricity in the middle of the day when there's all that cheap solar availability. And if we can show that increase in consumption in the middle of the day is actually being powered by very local solar resources. So that's what we're really interested to find out.
Well, best of luck with it, and we'll give the details of how people can sign up for the trial on our website and also at the end of this podcast. Andrea La Nauze, thank you so much for joining the Switched On podcast.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And Dr. Andrea La Nauze is an Associate Professor of Economics at Deakin University. If you'd like to take part in the Virtual Energy Network study, you can email the team at ven@deakin.edu.au. That's ven, V-E-N, @deakin.edu.au, or just search Deakin Virtual Energy Network in your browser. We'll also include the details on the Renew Economy and One Step Off the Grid websites. That's it from me. I'm Anne Delaney. Thanks for listening. Until next time, take care and stay switched on.